The state Bentley, royal standard aloft, glided through central London, its polished surface reflecting the city's historic facades. The car, a symbol of royal tradition and continuity, moved with quiet dignity through the heart of the capital. Trailed by a sombre motorcade, the king's procession cut a striking figure against the backdrop of the city's grandeur. Yet the city was silent. The usual hum of London life was replaced by an almost eerie stillness. The streets, once packed with eager crowds and waving flags, were nearly empty, their emptiness echoing the absence of excitement. A handful of confused tourists watched as the king passed by, unnoticed by most. Their puzzled faces hinted at the strangeness of the moment. This wasn't an isolated event. The pattern had become familiar, a new normal for royal occasions. Throughout 2024 and into 2025, royal processions moved through vacant cityscapes, their grandeur contrasting sharply with the emptiness around them. The tradition of flag-waving crowds had vanished, even at iconic spots like the Mall and Parliament Square, where history was once made in the presence of thousands. Once, royal appearances were national spectacles. People camped out for days to catch a glimpse, braving the elements for a fleeting moment of connection. Now, the monarchy's grand performance plays to an empty house, the cheers replaced by silence and empty seats. The applause has faded, leaving the king and his entourage in a landscape of indifference, their journey marked by quiet rather than celebration. The rituals remain, performed with precision and pride, but the vital ingredient, public enthusiasm, is missing, leaving the ceremonies strangely hollow. The royal machine rolls on, but it feels increasingly disconnected from the people it's meant to inspire, its relevance quietly questioned with each passing event. Is this a temporary lull, a momentary pause in tradition, or a sign of a deeper shift in Britain's relationship with its monarchy, a silent turning point in the nation's story? Hoping for a warmer reception and a chance to reconnect with the people, King Charles embarked on a highly anticipated tour of Australia in October 2024. The visit was meant to be a moment of unity, a chance for the new monarch to step into the spotlight and reaffirm the royal family's place in the hearts of Australians. The royal convoy swept through Sydney's business district, but the streets were eerily deserted, with only the sound of engines echoing off empty buildings. The usual throngs of waving well-wishers were nowhere to be seen. The lack of crowds wasn't due to poor planning or a lack of publicity. The public simply didn't show up, leaving barricades and viewing areas empty. Even in cities known for their royal enthusiasm like Melbourne and Brisbane, the response was muted. Only a handful of loyal supporters gathered, their cheers swallowed by the quiet. In stark contrast, past tours by Queen Elizabeth or the young Charles and Diana drew massive, excited crowds, with streets overflowing and a sense of celebration in the air. This time, the king's visit felt more like a formality than a celebration, with official ceremonies attended by dignitaries but few ordinary citizens. The monarchy's power relies on public affection and visible support, but when people stop watching, that power quietly fades. The disappointment was visible on the faces of the few who did attend. The empty streets of Sydney mirrored those in London, a symbol of a fraying connection between the monarchy and the public, both at home and abroad. The tour, meant to project strength and unity, instead highlighted a growing sense of isolation and uncertainty about the monarchy's future. The king travelled across the world, only to find the same emptiness that awaited him at home, a stark reminder that times have changed. For the monarchy, visibility is everything, and now, as the crowds disappear, the future of royal relevance hangs in the balance. The King's Australian tour revealed more than just empty streets. It laid bare his vulnerability. For the first time, an ambulance with flashing lights followed the royal motorcade, a visible sign of concern for the King's health. At nearly 76 and undergoing cancer treatment, Charles paused his regimen for the tour, prompting questions about the toll on his health. 2 doctors travelled with him, breaking with tradition and highlighting the seriousness of the situation. The strain was evident. At one official lunch, the king left after just 10 minutes. The image of a monarch departing his own celebration spoke volumes. The king appeared both physically and symbolically isolated, battling illness and public indifference. The reinforced medical presence was a stark reminder of his mortality, while the empty streets hinted at the monarchy's own fragility. The crown, once unassailable, now seemed vulnerable on all fronts. While traditional media downplayed the empty streets, social media amplified them. Viral videos of the king's lonely motorcade, often set to ironic music, spread rapidly across platforms. Online conversations quickly shaped a new narrative about the monarchy's public support. Users shared evidence of sparse crowds for royal events across the UK and Commonwealth. For younger generations, these clips became the truth. The monarchy was losing relevance. Even Prince William's appearances drew meagre crowds, fueling online debate. The palace's silence only strengthened the viral verdict. The monarchy's star was fading. On the internet, the empty streets became a symbol of a royal institution struggling to matter. As images of the king's lonely appearances spread across social media and news outlets, a counter-narrative quickly emerged online, centred on Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. While the monarchy tried to project stability, the public's attention was drawn to a strikingly different story. Viral videos and trending posts contrasted the empty streets for Charles and William with the massive, enthusiastic crowds that greeted the Sussexes in 2018. The difference was impossible to ignore, and it quickly became a talking point across platforms. Footage from their tours in Australia, Fiji, and the UK showed rock-star energy, with diverse, youthful audiences turning out in droves. The Sussexes seemed to ignite a sense of hope and excitement wherever they went, drawing people from all backgrounds. The message was clear. While the monarchy once inspired genuine excitement, it had lost much of its spark by sidelining its most charismatic couple. The contrast between past and present was stark, and it resonated with many. Social media users argued passionately that the Sussexes' popularity was authentic and global, while the remaining royals now struggled to connect with a changing public. Online forums buzzed with debates about what the monarchy had lost. The contrast fueled growing distrust in traditional media, which had often painted a very different picture of royal popularity. Many began to question the narratives they'd been told. The debate shifted. Now it wasn't just about declining popularity, but about the kind of connection and relevance the monarchy had lost in the modern era. Harry and Meghan had reached audiences the institution now desperately needs. Young, diverse, and globally engaged people who once looked to the royals for inspiration. The empty streets for Charles seemed to many like a self-inflicted wound, a symbol of what happens when an institution turns away from its most dynamic voices. The British media's coverage of the monarchy is paradoxical. While royal affairs fill endless pages, the empty streets are barely mentioned. Instead, the press fixates on Meghan Markle, casting her as the villain in every royal drama. This narrative distracts from the monarchy's real crisis, its failure to connect with the public. The media's relentless focus on Meghan provides a scapegoat, deflecting attention from the institution's decline. Meanwhile, the story of dwindling crowds for the King and Prince William is ignored. Social media tells a different story, one of apathy toward the monarchy, not animosity toward Meghan. The press's obsession is not just a distraction, it's a refusal to confront the monarchy's quiet crisis. The phrase "downgraded monarchy" now echoes across social media and public discourse. The spectacle feels smaller, the magic faded, and public investment has waned. King Charles, seen as remote and from another era, struggles to inspire the affection once reserved for his mother, or the excitement Harry and Meghan brought. Indifference, not anger, is the monarchy's greatest threat. Meghan remains polarizing, but for many, her departure symbolizes the institution's failure to adapt. The monarchy's loss of its most relatable members is seen as a sign it's out of touch with modern Britain. The empty streets raise uncomfortable questions. Is this decline terminal or just a phase? Why does the media ignore it? The Crown's future may depend on finding honest answers to these questions.